Tom Brady's new football life will begin with a bang as Tampa Bay Buccaneers will open the regular season against Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, one of the early highlights of the 2020 NFL schedule. As announced Thursday night, the game will pit two of the best players in NFL history and mark the first time that both starting quarterbacks are at least 40 years old. Brees, who's 41, and Brady, who will be 43 when that game kicks off, have played against each other only 5 times, but they are now divisional rivals in the NFC South. They rank number 1 and number 2, respectively, in the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and completions.
It's gonna be it's gonna be an incredible season when you look at this Saints schedule. We'll break it down game by game coming up next segment.
Stephen A. Smith was on First Take talking about the Saints-Bucks matchups coming up here in 2020.
Then I look at the Saints, and that's why that's my choice. I think that Tampa Bay is the toughest. The Saints are the toughest matchup on Tampa's schedule. You're talking about the NFC South. You're talking about the New Orleans Saints reigning supreme. You're talking about Cameron Jordan coming on the air yesterday with Greeny on Get Up. And what did he say? Greeny said when Tampa Bay, if I remember correctly, he said when Tampa Bay acquired Tom Brady, what was the first thought to run through your mind? And Cameron said, that Drew Brees elected to stay with us. That's what. We still got Drew Brees. We good. Because Drew Brees is what's going to be required to upend and offset whatever Tampa Bay, led by Tom Brady, is going to throw in your direction.
So week 1, Brees and Brady, you'll see them again on week 9 on NBC's Sunday Night Football. Saints are slated in 4 primetime games, but as Dan and I were talking before the show, you got to talk about that Christmas game as being primetime, right? It's the only game in town. I mean, it's the only game going on.
Yeah. So
5?
I had to look up the dates. Yeah, I think it comes out at 5, but that's going to be on a Friday. So you'll play on Sunday against the Chiefs, and then
a 5-day turnaround.
Yeah, 5-day turnaround, which at least you're at home for that turnaround, and then that gives you extra time to prepare for the final game of the year. But yeah, you get a chance at some Christmas revenge on the Vikings. You can give some coal to the skull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Skull.
Yeah.
Skull.
Skull.
All right, so the stretch of the schedule that's probably going to stick out, and as T-Bob said, we'll talk about it week by week coming up, but weeks 12 through 14, you're at Denver, at Atlanta, at Philadelphia, back home versus the Super Bowl champ Chiefs in week 15, and then a Christmas Day game 5 days later versus the Vikings. We'll talk about it coming up here on Off the Bench. Some more NFL scheduling news as they were released on Thursday. The Dolphins and Bengals will face off in Week 13, which will pit Joe Burrow, the number 1 overall pick for Cincinnati, against Tua Tagovailoa. The game falls on December 6, 2020, which is just one day after the 2020 SEC championship game, which both quarterbacks played in and won during their time in the conference.
How about this? To go back to Tom Brady real quick, I forgot to write it down, so I was looking it up. Tom Brady has been favored for 74 regular season games in a row. 74 regular season games in a row. Tom Brady has entered as the betting favorite. That streak will be snapped at the beginning of this season, as I think the Saints right now are 5.5 or 6.5 point favorites.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, but let's look at Tampa Bay, right? There's a lot of unprovens there. Now, yes, it is Tom Brady, but Tom Brady's coming off not a good year. And some people, while I'm more of it was the weapons around him, some people are the opposite side of the docket. They think it was more Tom Brady. That's why this move is fascinating. We'll see firsthand which it more is. But, yeah, I think there's some – I understand the logic behind making Tampa Bay prove it. I think it's a reason, too. Remember, we said yesterday, do you end the season with Brady Brees? I think that's when they started there. In case everything goes awry in Tampa or even in New Orleans, then all the hype and the pageantry, it's still there week 1 and all the hope and everything. So smart scheduling on the NFL's part.
Yeah, and one thing to talk about, and we'll speak about this coming up on OTB, is that this is a great home schedule. I mean, a phenomenal home schedule for the Chiefs. Brady coming in twice. Aaron Rodgers will be here in New Orleans. Hopefully they can play these games in front of fans. We'll talk about it coming up more. Before we get out of here at 9 a.m. this morning, LSU basketball will be a part of an SEC-flavored event at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, a part of the 2020 Holiday Hoops Giving set for December 12th. The Tigers will meet South Florida in a day of neutral court games at the home of the Atlanta Hawks of the NBA. Holiday Hoops Giving has historically showcased many of the top high school basketball programs in the country for the past 6 years and is listed as one of the top 5 Thanksgiving basketball showcases in the country by USA Today. Another story by a former LSU Tiger, also moved by former Tiger and current Minnesota Timberwolves forward Naz Reid, who donated over 200 lunches to a New Jersey hospital this week. I believe it was in his hometown of Asbury Park. Some more NCAA basketball news. You see this? Kansas basketball, Mark Schlabach at ESPN.com.
What's going on here? How are we feeling about this?
NCAA enforcement staff said Kansas's basketball program committed egregious and severe rules violations that significantly undermine and threaten the NCAA collegiate model, and alleged that Jayhawks coach Bill Self and assistant coach Curtis Townsend embraced, welcomed, and encouraged Adidas employees and consultants to influence high-profile basketball recruits to sign with Kansas. That was the NCAA enforcement staff's position in its 92-page reply to Kansas that the university released on Thursday. The Jayhawks are charged with 5 Level 1 violations, the most serious, including lack of institutional control. Self is charged with head coach responsibility violations. Under NCAA rules, a head coach could be hit with a show cause order and be suspended up to an entire season for Level 1 violations. We have a request into Dick Vitale to speak about this on Off the Bench. Latest request to get him on today went unanswered. Hopefully next week we can get him on.
What are we feeling about how this pertains to LSU? How are we feeling, Kingmaker?
Well, you saw earlier this week, Louisville got their notice of allegations.
Yeah.
That was late last week. Kansas, as we've said all along, when reading the transcript, they were working hand in hand with the Adidas employees and consultants. This one is a little bit more stickier than...
Yeah, even though Wade's on the wiretap, you are right. Like they
I mean, LSU is a phone call.
Yeah.
And the dynamics of that phone call and the dialogue of that phone call is not... And it's very unbecoming.
That's well said. It's unbecoming, but it is not proof. There is no body.
It's not
circumstantial.
Self and Gatto trading text messages about certain recruits. I mean, this is bad, but we'll see. I mean, this is a blue blood.
Well, Kansas is fighting it too. Did you see
Hell
Kansas
yeah,
statements?
They're fighting it.
They're like, nah, this is BS. We're the victims here. Our coaches had no idea. Like, they are vehemently, well, I guess they're not vehemently denying, they're vehemently saying that everything's been misconstrued, that the whole story is not being told, which is a good spin zone, I guess. I mean, we'll see where it goes.
Baby, rock chalk. Let's go,
cheering
man.
for you too, man.
Hell
I'm
yeah,
cheering
I'm in your
for
corner,
Bill Self,
Let's
Kansas.
go, man.
We got your back. The
Take
sport is broken anyway. You're not really going to be able to clean it up. Let's just ride with it.
But this is a blue blood, and if the NCAA is for real, this is one of the ones that felt untouchable in Kansas basketball. We'll see. Those are your headlines. What's trending here on Friday, May 8th.